Hey everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Refining Rhetoric. I have a classical conversation director, actress, and producer on today, Sam Sorbo, to talk about her movie, Miracle in East Texas. So without further ado, let me introduce her and we'll jump in.
Classical Conversation Studios presents Refining Rhetoric with CEO Robert Bortons, a podcast where faith, business, politics, and classical education meet. Join us as we use the classical tools of rhetoric to seek truth in every arena of life.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Refining Rhetoric. Today my guest is Sam Sorbo. She is an award-winning actress, podcast host of The Sam Sorbo Show, and a homeschool mom with classical conversations, the author of several books, including They're Your Child and most recently Words for Warriors. I've enjoyed reading both of them. And this is the second time she's been on our podcast, Refining Rhetoric. And we are talking to her today about the upcoming film, Miracle in East Texas. Sam, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here with you. I'm really excited about this film. So ask me anything you want to know.
Well, it's been about a year since you were on the podcast last, episode 19. Go check that out. What have you been up to this last year?
Well, COVID really is the thing that shut down this film. So we filmed it in 2019, which is why if you look it up, it'll say 2019. That's when it was filmed. But we couldn't get it into theaters because just as we were about to launch the whole campaign, the COVID came through and shut down everything. And so it sort of sat on a shelf for a little while. The good news is it's a period piece. So it hasn't really aged at all in the couple of intervening years. And so now finally we're ready to put it into theaters. It's going to be nationwide, limited time only. So get your tickets now. And if you go to sorbostudios.com, you'll find all the information there. But the most compelling thing about this movie is that it is actually inspired by the true story of the East Texas oil strike, which, we're classical conversationalists, right? So we dive into all of the different elements that are involved in a historical event. And that's exactly what I did, which prompted me to make a curriculum based on the movie. It's a short curriculum. It's not any big grand strokes, but it covers a little bit of the economy. This was during the Depression, the Great Depression. It covers oil as a resource and how oil is used. It covers a little bit of math because the story here is that there were two oil men, but they were pretty much scoundrels. They really didn't know what they were doing. They had a smattering of information. And so they were convincing widows to invest their savings in oil wells. And what the guys would do is, they'd oversell the well because they knew they weren't going to strike oil. And then they'd skip town. They'd say, well, it's a dry hole. We tried. Thanks for your investments. And then they'd skip town. But ultimately, they really did want to strike oil. And so the story that we tell, which is the true story, is they actually ended up striking oil. And it was the biggest oil strike in the history of the United States. And I'm not kidding about that. And so, and it's such an amazing story because they struck oil. And it's kind of like, so there's symbolism in the movie because the oil that they strike actually doesn't compare to the other things that they discover in terms of friendship and forgiveness and the other themes of the movie on the way. And so the oil actually is representative of other themes. So that's part of the curriculum. And then the follow-up story to all of this, which is really incredible because the guys, they couldn't actually bring the oil in because they'd oversold the well. So they were criminals. They went to jail. Our writer was my co-writer on a film I did called Let There Be Light. And he's an Oscar-nominated writer. He wrote The Hurricane for Denzel Washington and Wyatt Earp for Kevin Costner. He's a very well-known, very accomplished screenwriter. He actually wrote this script for Robert Redford and Paul Newman. But by the time he got them the script, they had sort of made a pact that they weren't going to work together anymore because they were kind of getting typecast as always working together, sort of. So they swore off of it. And so the script sat on a shelf for many years. And then Dan brought it to my husband and me, and we just fell in love with it. And the end of the story is they ended up bringing in the well. A guy named Hunt came in and took over. And he became virtually overnight, he became the wealthiest oil man in the business. And that's the true story. But 10 years later, we entered the war, World War II. And I don't know
Mm.
if you know this, but there were German submarines in the Gulf of Mexico. And
Wow.
they torpedoed 72 out of our 73 tankers that were filled with East Texas oil to go to the boys fighting overseas.
Mm.
So what ended up happening was they built a pipeline from East Texas to the East Coast to pipe the oil to the East Coast. And that's why Allied tanks didn't run out of gas before the Nazi tanks did.
Mm.
So Winston Churchill is actually quoted as saying that the Allies floated to victory on a sea of East Texas oil.
Cool. Then
It
it
is cool.
all this from this scheme that these two guys, I guess, they went to jail, so they oversold the whales, which basically means every dollar that they're getting out of oil, they're having to pay something above that to the investors.
Well,
And
no, it really means that the investors bought 10%, right? The investors bought, like each investor bought a certain percentage, but five investors bought that percentage. So
okay.
in the curriculum that I developed, it's like you have five pies,
Hmm.
or you pretend that you have five pies, but you only have one pie. So how do you serve 50 people each
Mm.
a slice of pie when you only have one pie instead of five? And it basically it works out like that. So
Yeah, that's fun. Is it family friendly? I know you guys do family friendly movies,
yeah,
but is it for all ages, or is there a certain age range that you are recommending it for?
it's rated as PG and it's perfectly good for 7 years old and up. Younger than that, they're probably going to squirm a little bit because it's adults talking on a screen. There aren't a lot of kids in the movie, but it certainly is appropriate for families. And I just love the idea of showing people that education is as easy as having the discussion of what we just saw, or having the discussion of what we witnessed and how that plays out in the real world, for instance. And so even though it's a comedy, it is inspired by a true story. And so I bring the true elements of that into the curriculum. By the way, the curriculum is for free. It's available at sorbostudios.com. So I bring it into the curriculum so that you can just have this conversation. Maybe you go to the movie and then go out to dinner afterwards and have that little conversation, and everybody gets to learn a little bit. I mean, I enjoyed learning. I didn't know about. It's funny because it's Louis Gohmert who told me about the tankers being torpedoed and the Big Inch pipeline. It's called the Big Inch. I mean, it's a big accomplishment to build a pipeline in less than 13 months
That's
across the
huge.
United States in 1944 or whatever it was.
Well,
It's
we won't get
crazy.
into pipelines here in the US now, but we could use a couple more of them. And
Right? And so we forget our history at our own peril, right? And so it's good to have these discussions. It's good to have the exercise of digging into something a little bit deeper than just superficially, because it's very easy to go to the theater and watch a movie like a superhero movie,
yeah.
and you get bombarded with all of the action and the noise and the drama and everything, and then you leave the theater and it's like it never happened.
Hmm.
Like it was fun and then it's done. And I like the idea of bringing entertainment that actually will stick with you a little bit because you learn a little bit of something and
Yeah.
you take that with you.
No, I love the idea of having a curriculum with it and parents being able to do it with their children to kind of cement in their minds what really happened and those real ideas. So definitely go to sorbostudios.com and grab that curriculum. It's family friendly, and of course you've worked with your husband Kevin before, but your son Braeden is in the movie. And have you worked with him before? And what was that like having all three of you filming together?
Well, it was fun because my husband directed, which meant that I was the producer on record, so to speak. So I got to tell him what to do. No, I'm kidding. Uh, we've worked with the boys before. They were both in Let There Be Light, and so this would have been Braden's third or fourth movie at that point. He'd become pretty accomplished by then. Unfortunately, because of the amount of film we had to cut out a pretty substantial portion of his part. But it was so hilarious that we put it at the end of the film. So when you go see the film, make sure you stay through the credits, because there are a lot of really hilarious outtakes in the credits that play during the credits just for fun. The movie was a lot of fun to do. John Ratzenberger, who played Cliff on Cheers, and he's been in every single Pixar movie. He's voiced a character in every single Pixar movie. He's an amazing talent. And he's a committed actor, and he is absolutely hilarious just by himself. So he features a lot in the outtakes at the end of the film, as well as, for a lot of the humor that's in the film.
You filmed this a while ago. So is there any other films that you and Kevin or your family are working on right now that we should be looking at past this October 29th and 30th release date for Miracle in East Texas?
I personally don't have anything coming up. My husband has several. You can go check the website for all the details. It's hard for me to keep up with him and do everything that I do, frankly. So you kind of put me on the spot to name the things that he's done. But in between time, we shot Left Behind, which went into theaters, did very well in theaters, and is now streaming and available on DVD and stuff.
Right.
And so that was a lot of fun. And Braeden is also in that movie. And the funny story there is he's a very tall guy.
Yeah.
But he was supposed to play opposite the lead, and they ended up casting a guy for the lead who was very tall. So they're both the same height. And that was just like an amazing luck of the draw kind of a story there.
You guys are actors. Tell me a little bit about how classical conversations and the rhetorical skills that are practiced week in and week out, have helped your sons, become actors and become accomplished young men. And how does that make you feel as a mom?
Well, let me start a little bit earlier. So when I started homeschooling, I did it, I think, 2 years before I discovered classical conversations. And classical conversations came into my life at really just the right time, because I was foundering a bit. I felt absolutely insecure. I knew that whatever I did would be better than what was on offer in the school. But that was my baseline. That's like, still, can't I do better than just not that bad, right? And so classical conversations came into my life at just the right time, and it offered me the structure that I needed and the curriculum that I needed. Because I had read a book about classical curricula, but I wasn't sure how to implement it. And classical conversations, I told people, it's like school in a box. Like, you get all the curriculum you need and you're good to go. And of course that's for seventh grade, right? I don't, people who listen to this probably know Challenge A, but seventh grade and up. And so Braeden started in fifth grade. He would have been in fifth grade in public school. I had done a good enough job that he actually was at a sixth grade level, sort of, according to classical conversation. So he moved from fifth grade straight into seventh grade, and I became a tutor, which was like baptism by fire. But I highly recommend it for parents. I highly recommend that you take the bull by the horns and say, you're going to tutor and just get it over with, because you're going to end up tutoring anyway. So you might as well get started. And it is what it does is it brings the experience of home education, it brings it sort of full circle. It brings it back to you, because you become a student also. Because a lot of this stuff, like I had never studied Latin, but even some of the other stuff, I didn't know all the science stuff that we were doing in Challenge A and stuff like that. And so you also become a student. And I say that not to deter you. I know most of us hated school. I hated school. I didn't want to become a student, but once you become a student, you understand the innate gifting that you have to be a proper student, because you are curious. And this is a wonderful way to assuage your curiosity. By the way, you're curious because God creates us to be curious in order to seek him. It starts to manifest in your life this idea that education is available all the time, that it's not something that only happens inside the institution. On the contrary, it doesn't happen in the institution. The opposite of education happens in our schools today. It's the deterrent to be educated, it's the deterrent to learn. It's a roadblock to education that happens inside the schools. But, I remember how I was just foundering is really the best word. I mean, I was just beside myself. I didn't know how to serve my children.
Right.
And so I started with classical conversations. My two sons have both graduated. They are so meticulous about opinions and facts. I
Yeah.
think that is really the greatest sort of upshot, maybe the greatest result is that they are adherent to the truth. They won't suffer fools. They won't, they're gracious, but they're exigent. They want tangible, real things. They're not interested in superficial. And I guess that's probably the best way that I can put it. And so I would say that that's a result of the curriculum of classical conversations. And then I still have one who is a senior this year, so she would be challenged for, but we're in Paris.
Oh, fun.
So I'm doing world schooling for her final year of school, and it's been really incredible. She's an artist, so we're doing museums every day.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I want people to understand, education isn't this thing that the institution provides. It's so much greater than that. And that is so demeaning of the actual word education. The school demeans the word, right? And so I'm hoping that people can take from the film curricula that I'm putting there, because it's free. I'm hoping that they can get a glimpse into how enjoyable and easy education can be. That's really what it's all about.
Yeah, the curriculum I think is so beneficial to families because you think about like you go see a movie like you mentioned earlier, and like, did you like it? Yeah, I did like it. And there's no transformational aspect of it. It didn't necessarily benefit your life other than maybe a couple hours of entertainment. But to be able to learn our history, to learn more about oil, which is so vital to humanity and our life and our lifestyle, and the reduction of poverty in our country and around the world. And of course, that gets demonized all the time by certain groups here. And so just being able to shed light on the truth and not just be entertained, which I'm sure everyone will be by the movie, but be able to go that level deeper where you can really understand what was like during the Depression. And how does God change? Like, why would God let these women or these elderly people be swindled? If He's a loving God, why is there evil in the world? And of course, it goes to show that God uses what the devil wanted for evil for good, because it saved us in World War II or the World War.
Yep. And forgiveness, forgiveness is a theme in the movie, and that's actually I take a little bit of credit there because I really wanted to emphasize that it was in the movie, and there's a pivotal scene in the movie that I worked with Dan on to really stress this idea that redemption exists. We are
Yes,
living in a culture today. I was just commenting. Russell Brand has now been accused,
canceled.
right, of
Yeah,
assault, and YouTube demonetized and deplatformed him without so much as a by your leave, without so much as an investigation. These women have not gone to the police. There is no police inquiry. There is nothing legal that's happening. They went to the media and he lost his account on YouTube. The United Kingdom asked Rumble to take him down. And I'm so grateful that Rumble said, not your call, not even our call. And in fact,
yeah.
none of his content on Rumble has anything to do with the accusations, which, by the way, are it's simply accusations in the media, right? They're not even in the court of law.
I mean, we don't even have Jeffrey Epstein's list. And that went
Right.
through the court of law, and he was found guilty. I mean, Russell Brand was definitely an immoral person when he was younger, and, probably so now. His values don't necessarily align with us, but we have seen him explore the truth recently and, come out against some of the things these globalists are doing.
You're right, but I'm not saying pro or against Russell Brand.
Yeah.
I'm talking about innocent until proven guilty, right? And he is sort of dead until proven innocent, which is like the reverse. And my point being, cancel culture is the culture of unforgiveness. It is anti-Christianity,
Yes.
and it's taking over. And that's what we have to fight against. So we have to promote forgiveness. We have to promote the ideals of redemption, the idea that yes, you can make mistakes and you can ask for forgiveness and be forgiven, right? That
Absolutely.
there's a path forward, because otherwise there's no hope. And of course, we have hope. And that's what Christianity offers. So, in that small way, that's my intention for this film, is for people to be able to see this film and take that message away. It's not a Bible thumper film. It won't beat you with the Bible. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not that kind of a movie. I call it faith light. We kind of thread the needle. And so, if you're not a believer and you go see the movie, you're not going to see a faith film. You're going to say, that was a good movie. I enjoyed it. It was a comedy, but I don't understand why you guys think that this is a faith film, kind of like The Blind Side, right? Which
Right.
was not a Christian movie, but it depicted Christians doing good things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think any movie that points to truth and the truth, and of course, forgiveness is part of our process of discovering what is true, beautiful, and good in this world, is a faith film in a way. And I just appreciate that your family does such a good work, because Christian films or Christian actors often get a bad rap because of some of the materials that have been put out there over the years. But we know that when we watch a Sorbo film, that we're going to be entertained. It's going to be quality entertainment. It's going to be something the whole entire family can enjoy, and it's always fun to see you, your husband, and your kids in the film together, and know that it's not just something that you say, but it's a way of life for your family. So I just want to encourage everyone to go to sorbostudios.com and check out The Miracle in East Texas, coming out October 29th and 30th. So Sam, just give you the final word. Tell us what's the best way to see the film, and how to get tickets.
Well, it's really easy because tickets are available right now. Just go to sorbostudios.com to find all the information about the tickets. We also have a pay it forward. So if you want to buy tickets for someone else, you can. All the tickets. And I will say this, because I think it's so much fun. You go online, you find the theater. It's a Fathom event. So you can find the theater and you can order your tickets and even pick your seats, I think. And then you purchase them and screenshot it and send it to all your friends. And then all of your friends can go to the theater and buy their tickets and meet you at the theater. And it's just a lot of fun. I've sold out theaters that way. So I want to encourage everybody to go do that.
All right. Well, go see Miracle in East Texas. Go get your tickets today and make sure you invite some friends. Until next time, enjoy Paris.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Go to sorbostudios.com to go get your tickets, get your friends together, make it a party, download the free curriculum, and really just have a fun, entertaining day with your family. Until next time, keep listening to Refining Rhetoric podcast, and be sure to share this episode with a friend. God bless. See you soon.
Thank you for listening to Refining Rhetoric with Robert Bortons. Want more? Make sure to subscribe so you won't miss an episode. You can also follow us on social media to continue the conversation, and visit classicalconversations.com/rhetoric to find out how you can join a local homeschool community.